5.3, Back and Forth. It's the name of one of my favorite songs. Unrelated, but just felt I needed to say that. All right, number one. Here's the equation of a circle. X minus 2 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 10 squared. All right, what are the center and radius of the circle? Well, let's write out our equation again for a circle. All right, if you remember, we've got x minus h, where h is an x coordinate somewhere in the circle. H is the x coordinate of the center of the circle. And y minus k squared, where k is the y coordinate of the center. So x coordinate of center, and then k is our y coordinate of the center. And this is actually very closely related to our formula for vertex form of a parabola, which you also would have gone over in Algebra 1. And then that's all equal to our radius squared. So the center x coordinate is going to be 2. The y coordinate is a little bit trickier. If I put 7 here, I get y minus 7. This says y plus 7. So you got to think about, what would I plug in for k to make this say y plus 7? Well, if I'm making something negative positive, when you subtract a negative number, that becomes positive, right? So I'm just going to take this part here and sort of show you y minus negative 7 squared. A negative of a negative is positive, so that becomes y plus 7 squared. So my y coordinate is negative 7. So that's sort of the tricky part of this formula. The x and y are kind of the opposite of what they look like. It looks like a negative 2. It's really 2 because our formula is minus h. It looks like a positive 7. It's really negative 7 because our formula is minus k. The radius is much easier. That's just 10. Apply the distributive property to the squared binomials and rearrange the equations so that one side is 0. This is the form in which many circle equations are written. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite x minus 2 squared as a perfect square trinomial. So that'll be x squared minus 4x plus 4. Y plus 7 squared. That'll be y squared plus 14y plus 49. And that'll all be equal to 100. All right. Rearrange it so that one side is equal to 0. Okay, sure. So I guess I'll subtract 100 from both sides. I don't really love doing that. I think it's sort of confusing in some ways, because it's like, which 4 or 49 do I subtract the 100 from? I guess I'll combine 4 and 49 first. Let me do that first, just because it's like, why should I pick and choose which should be subtracted by 100? It doesn't really make any sense. So I'm going to get x squared minus 4x plus y plus 14y. 4 plus 49 is 54. I'm sorry, 53. Equals 100. Minus 100. Minus 100. X squared minus 4x plus, that should have been y squared, plus 14y. 53 minus 100 is negative 47. And that's equal to 0. All right. Sure. I guess you can write it that way. All right. Number 2. This equation looks different, but also represents a circle. How can you rewrite this equation to find the center and radius of the circle? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to section it off into the parts that are going to go together. And that 64 is on its own. So here I can tell this is a perfect square trinomial. The square root of 9 is 3, right? 3 squared is 9. And 3 plus 3 is 6. So that's a perfect square trinomial, x plus 3 squared. This also works. 5 plus 5 is 25. 5 plus 5 isn't negative 10, so that's not really going to work, but I'm going to try negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. And negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10, so that actually does work. That'll be y minus 5 squared. All right. And I always like to write this as radius squared. And 64 is a perfect square, right? 8 times 8 is 64. So I can write this as 8 squared. Great. What are the center and radius of the circle? Well, remember, center is kind of tricky. It's the opposite of what it looks like. This looks like a positive 3. It's really negative 3. This looks like a negative 5. It's really positive 5. Radius is just 8. Okay. In three-dimensional space, are you ready for more? So, you know, if you're someone who loves geometry, loves math, loves algebra, go ahead and do this. I feel like this is going to confuse a lot of people, so maybe don't worry too much about this. In three-dimensional space, there are 3 coordinate axes called the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. All right, so if x and y are up and down, z would be like as my finger is coming closer to the camera. That's the z-axis. Right? X, y, and z is coming towards you. Write an equation for a sphere with center A, B, C, and radius R. All right. Well, I actually don't know. I don't know if I've ever graphed a sphere before. I've never graphed anything in the three-dimensional space, but this is what I think it would be. If we have our center at A, I'm assuming that this is talking about the x-coordinate of the center. So that's going to remain the same. X minus A squared. All right, and then we've got our y-coordinate B plus y minus B squared. And then let's try the C one as well. That's for a z-axis, so I feel like that would just be the same. Z minus C squared. And that would all be equal to our radius. I feel like it's probably squared. I'm going to guess it's squared. All right, but I can probably just look this up. What is the equation for a sphere? So I'm going to do that real quick. See if my guess was right. Maybe you think it's something different. Let's see which one of us was right. All right, equation for a sphere in the coordinate plane. Well, they're giving me some trig equation here. Oh, it looks like I was correct. That is our equation for a sphere. Awesome. So it's not that much different. We're just adding another variable in there. All right, very cool. All right, is that all? That is all. All right, have a great day.